What up, guys? We have now came to the end of the day two presentations of CinemaCon. And if you guys didn't see, yesterday CinemaCon started with Sony Pictures leading off with a huge presentation that blew everybody out of the water with a ton of Spider-Man updates. But then they also followed that up with a whole bunch of other updates, but everything about it was just an amazing presentation. And this morning we had a Lionsgate presentation, which I was a little worried about that they wouldn't live up to the hype after Sony, but the amount of announcements they gave for Hunger Games and John Wick was wild. And I have videos covering both of those presentations up on my channel right now, and they're in a playlist, and this one will go in that exact playlist too, so you can just watch straight down, stay completely up to date, and I'll keep updating you guys on the Disney panel, the Paramount panel, and all the other big panels coming out later this week as well. But right now we got to talk about the last presentation of day two, and that was a Warner Bros presentation. And now they didn't announce a ton of huge projects like some of the other studios have already, but they did announce a ton of little projects that we got to talk about, and they did actually do a huge panel for Superman, but not everybody loved that panel, and that's kind of surprising in my opinion, so we're going to talk about that as well. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start out with a new topic, and that's a new movie we got a trailer for just last week. So starting off their entire panel, they started off talking about a movie called One Battle After Another, which we got the trailer for online about a week ago. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, and in my opinion, the trailer wasn't great. I didn't like anything about it, really. Nothing screamed like, oh, this is going to be a good movie about it. But, I mean, I like everything Leonardo DiCaprio really does. So, I mean, I'll still watch it. But there is a clip in the trailer about with a payphone, and that scene is just an extended clip they got for the CinemaCon guests, and that's all they really did about this movie. After that, they just moved on. No more talking about the movie, no more expansion on it. They just showed a longer clip, and that was it. Next, they talked about a new movie coming out called The Bride, which is a new remake of the Frankenstein story. And it's actually kind of set to be described as a Bonnie and Clyde's kind of movie. And it's actually supposed to be described with the relationship as somewhat of like the Harley Quinn and Jared Leto Joker of the Suicide Squad type romance. And I mean, I'm not a huge horror guy, so this doesn't interest me a ton, but I do like the classic monsters. And I think it'll be unique to see that type of romance back on the big screen. I didn't love that romance with the Joker and Harley, but maybe that will flesh out better in this movie as well. But let me know if you guys are excited for the Frankenstein movie coming out called The Bride. But with that, let's move on to our next story. Continuing on the horror trend, the next thing they updated us with was the Conjuring 4 movie, Conjuring Last Rites. Now, they didn't tell us really anything about this. They just said that it's come out and it's going to be the last Conjuring movie. I'm sure this universe will continue, but with our current set of characters and writers and directors, this is our last iteration of that. But with that being said, after that, they continue the horror trend for one more movie, and that is they give us an update on Final Destination Bloodlines. So we didn't really learn anything else new about the movie Final Destination Bloodlines. All we really learned was the fact that they got a new clip from the movie, another extended accident scene where it follows two brothers who are trying to figure out how to cheat death itself. And one of the brothers realizes he's allergic to peanuts, so he eats a peanut, and the plan is for his brother to resuscitate him and bring him back to life to cheat out death. And of course, as Final Destination drama always goes, it goes horribly wrong, and he ends up probably dying. They didn't really go too in-depth in the actual clip, but somehow a wheelchair's involved. I don't really know about that. But that is all we really learned about the Final Destination movie. Nothing really more about the plot. It's kind of obvious with the first trailer. But with that being said, we moved on away from the horror finally and into some action movies, and that is a new update on the Mortal Kombat 2 movie coming out later this year. So for Mortal Kombat, they got to see a whole bunch of different clips from the movie highlighting all the different characters. And the most stayed out part of this was actually when Carl Urban's Johnny Cage came out on the screen and went, "I'm Johnny effing Cage, let's go!" And like everybody said, like that definitely embodied the character of Johnny Cage from the games. And even though he doesn't exactly look like the classic Johnny Cage, he's definitely playing a character that definitely resembles that. And they were still very happy with it. And apparently this is supposed to be even more epic, a lot bigger fight sequences, and even more fatalities in this movie, which has me super excited because I know the first movie wasn't great. I enjoyed it, but not like as a good movie, but more of a fun movie. So I was happy with that movie, but I think they're definitely stepping it up. So I am definitely more excited about this one. I especially like the Sub-Zero in the last movie and the way they used him. Hopefully they can bring in some more unique styles like that they bring in from the games. But with that being said, let me know if you guys are excited for Mortal Kombat 2. But with that, let's move on to our next topic. They quickly jump back onto the horror train to go back to the director of the Barbarians' next movie, which is called Weapon. And it actually sounds pretty interesting. So the plot follows a full class of students that leave class one day completely normal. Then every single one of them wakes up at 2:17 in the morning that night and disappears, like walks out to the woods and disappears. And they're found a couple days later and they're all possessed. And that's really the plot of the movie. It's of course a horror movie by this director again, who did a great job on Barbarian. This isn't my type of movie. I honestly probably won't be checking this one out, but it does sound really unique. So let me know if you guys are excited for this upcoming movie called Weapon. But with that being said, let's keep continuing on because they're going back to more of an action movie with Brad Pitt's upcoming movie F1. So for F1, they actually got to see a full 10-minute clip of the movie, and I would explain to you guys what happens on every single second of this trailer if I could, really, because I'm super excited for this movie. But really, it's cars going vroom vroom around a course. I mean, it's a racing movie. It's supposed to look really, really cool. Same vein as Top Gun Maverick, which this director did direct. So it's supposed to look really cool, really interesting. So I'm excited for this movie. Not gonna like explain everything that happens to it in this trailer because it's pretty self-explanatory. But let me know if you guys are excited for Brad Pitt's F1. But with that, let's move on to a different style of movie, one that Warner Brothers actually seemed to be avoiding recently, and that's Warner Brothers Animation. So the attendees were greeted with a slideshow this time of different images of movies that they're working on that are animated movies that are in different stages of production. And the three that were really highlighted were one, Tom and Jerry, which I just hope is better than live action hybrid they did a couple years back. I did not like that. It didn't feel like the fun that Tom and Jerry truly is. And then the Flintstones, which is getting a new animated movie, which that has me actually really excited because I love the Flintstones. I just hope they keep it 2D animated. I want to see another like big budget 2D animated movie on the big screen again. I think that'd be really cool. Plus, I don't really think that the Flintstones should be switched over to 3D. I think some of their charm is being in 2D. And then finally, the third one that we're going to talk about right here is the fact that they did Looney Tunes. They teased that they're making another Looney Tunes movie, which doesn't really make sense because you're talking about the studio that just removed all of their Looney Tunes from the streaming platform. They just announced they're tearing down the building that's been dedicated to making Looney Tunes for decades now. And then they just sold their two most recently fully made Looney Tunes movies to Ketchup Entertainment because they didn't have the faith in the IP that it was going to be able to be promoted and sell well at the theaters. But they're making another one? So, I mean, I don't know. This doesn't really make any sense to me. I was actually kind of expecting them to sell Looney Tunes off at this point, but I guess they're dedicated to trying to make it work. I don't really know. But then the final one that they actually talked about that they spent the most time on is the new up-and-coming Cat in the Hat movie. And this actually sounds pretty interesting. So in this animated film, Bill Hader is voicing the cat. And it's supposed to be about the cat getting a new job. The Cat in the Hat specifically is getting a new job. And he meets these two new kids. And apparently if he fails this job, he loses his hat. And we get to see a whole bunch of the things, like thing 1, thing 2, and a couple others. Actually, I think they said they go up to thing 8. A whole bunch of different doors going to different worlds in the Dr. Seuss books. It's supposed to be setting up heavily a whole bunch of future Dr. Seuss animated movies that are supposed to tie into this. So, I mean, this is interesting to me. I think it would be cool to actually see more Dr. Seuss books getting adapted again. They actually said that they played the clip from SNL where Bill Hader played the Cat in the Hat as a sketch. And apparently that was also really funny to see them actually acknowledge that. So with that being said, let me know if you guys are excited to see the future of the Dr. Seuss movies and specifically the Cat in the Hat or any of the other Warner Brothers animated movies. But with that being said, now we got to move on to our next topic, which is finally working its way into James Gunn's new DCU. So they actually started the DCU panel off with an update about the new upcoming dynamic duo movie, which if you don't know what this is, it actually follows Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, two previous Robins for Batman, and it's supposed to be an animated story about their origins. It's supposed to be basically a brand new original style of animation that's supposed to be a mix of like somewhat live action, somewhat 2D, somewhat 3D animation, and puppeteering. It's supposed to be really unique. And actually, some of the people there described it as seeing the images of Spider-Verse for the first time because they got a whole bunch of stills from the movie. They didn't actually get a trailer or any details about the plot, but they did get to see what the images of the movie look like. And people said it reminded them of Spider-Verse, not in the style of the movie, but the fact that they're seeing a new style of animation that's never been done before and that's really unique and that's probably going to influence the way a lot more movies are going to be made in like the movie making industry. So that's unique. I can't wait to see these images or some sort of our first look at this when we eventually get it, because I am sort of excited for this because I am a huge Dick Grayson fan. I love Nightwing so much. I mean, he's one of my favorite DC characters of all time. But with that being said, let me know if you guys are excited for Dynamic Duo. But this leads us to our biggest topic, which is Superman. And apparently that presentation didn't go over too well. Well, whereas I think everything we learned from it's really interesting, but apparently the way they presented it wasn't great. So we got to talk about it. So they started out just talking about the movie. And that sounds really cool because they actually got Nicholas Hoult, who plays Lex Luthor, Rachel Brosnahan, who's playing Lois Lane, and then David Cornsworth, who's playing Superman, all on stage with James Gunn just talking. And they had great chemistry, apparently, and they had a lot of fun on the stage. It was actually interesting topics. But that's all they did. They stood there on stage for 30 straight minutes and just talked about their experience with the movie and just talked about the characters and what they thought about the movie, which apparently was eventually getting pretty boring. But with that being said, I really like some of the stuff Nicholas Hoult said about playing Lex Luthor, Rachel Brosnahan's comments about how the IMAX cameras really affected how their vision for the movie was going, and David Cornsworth's comments about how he envisioned playing Superman going into the role and stuff. That was really interesting. They also got their first like good looks at the costumes for the other supporting heroes, and they got a 5 to 10 minute clip of the movie at the very end, which is what people really did enjoy. It's said to be very funny, but not Superman being funny, but the circumstances he's being put in, and not a way that's making a comedy, but very much in the way of it seems serious, but with jokes such as James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which I personally really loved. With that being said, though, James Gunn actually said that his main inspiration for the style of this was not any of the other movies, but the animated TV shows. And this clip actually like majorly focused on the Fortress of Solitude, which apparently looks amazing. There are a whole bunch of in-depth people who have written like very detailed summaries of what they saw in the trailer, and we could go through and read those. But I don't really think that's needed. Just understand that it really highlights the fortress. It's supposed to be really cool. Crypto's a huge part of it, and his relationship of like really humanizing who Clark is, as well as these robots who are supposed to probably end up being a very emotional part of the movie. And then Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane and David Cornsworth's Superman's relationship and chemistry is supposed to be like off the charts amazing. But with that being said, we didn't actually get to see this clip, obviously, but there are rumors that this might be the clip that's playing ahead of the Minecraft movie, which is just opening up this Friday, which I'm going to see Friday. I'll let you guys know my opinion on the movie in a full review, but we'll probably also give you a full separate like short form video just on my thoughts of that clip, because I'm super excited about that as well. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think about the Superman movie. If you guys think this news at least is interesting, whether or not you think the way they presented it was the correct way to do it. But with that, guys, I'm going to leave this topic with one thing Rachel Brosnahan said, and that is, in James, we trust. So I hope this really does set up the DCU for success. But that is all the news we have from Warner Bros. So let me know if you guys did enjoy any of these topics, what movie you're looking forward to the most. But remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned to all the rest of the CinemaCon updates and watch the other 2 past videos. But with that being said, I'm Tyler. Take care.